I feel I must start by addressing the question plaguing everyone's mind. No, I have not read any of these books. They're just purely for decoration. Who reads anymore, right? Please no one clip that. Also, I got a haircut. Thanks for noticing. You guys are so sweet. All the books on my shelves I have read, most of which I've reviewed at some point on my channel. Also, for a brief disclaimer, yes, I have a lot of books. Yes, whenever I have a guest over, they mention just that. I've been collecting books for years. That's partially because I love reading, but that is also because I am a bookish content creator and this is what I like to collect. I have a few different bookshelves around my apartment we'll be going through today. I won't be pulling out every single book on my shelf because there are only so many hours I can spend editing, and I do not envy working on a 3-hour video, but I'll pull out some notable ones, favorites, we'll see. Oh, I also wanted to quickly mention a few of my books I am currently lending out at the moment. You see, I have this problem of lending books out and then never getting them back, which honestly I'd rather others keep them if they really enjoy them, but I just want to quickly point that out and say that this is my complete collection, give or take a few novels. Starting with this tall drink of water, my main bookshelf. She is from Crate & Barrel. You're like, Sarah, I've never seen a more boring bookshelf. Yeah, you're wrong. She's not boring. She's simple and she soothes me. I like for the books to be the pop of color in the room, and I love how the rattan, the wood tones matches the Scandinavian vibe I've going. Who wants to guess my height? Starting up top, hiding behind the plant, I have my YA fiction. Oh, this cute little rabbit guy. My brother and sister-in-law recently got me from Japan. I believe he has a little fortune on the inside, which obviously I can't read, but how cute is he? A lot of these I read a while ago, as contemporary YA fiction is not really my current forte. I have a few from the icon, the legend, the other half to my favorite YouTube duo to put on while doing chores, John Green. I actually have not read any of Hank Green's books, but I love his YouTube videos for some entertaining background noise that is in part educational. Whatever is in the Green DNA, like, oh my god. They are incredibly smart people. Tiny Pretty Things, I have been on the hunt for the next installment since I read it. Barnes, I'm a pretty easy sell, just stock it and I'll buy it. Next, I have some authors from whom I own multiple novels. From a graphic design perspective, Dolly Alderton always has the most stunning covers. I had Ghost on display for a while. I am obsessed with this. Jacket design by Kelly Blair. Kelly. As an art piece in itself, this is so visually interesting while also reflecting Dolly Alderton's unique, candid writing. I've got the books I've read so far in the Before the Coffee Gets Cold series, Freya Sampson. Now we've reached my Ellen Hilderbrand section. The Perfect Couple and Golden Girl are two of my favorites from her. This ornament I got when I visited Martha's Vineyard / Nantucket last summer, and I actually got to meet her. Still processing that happened. You know who I want to meet? Elle Cosimano. And we literally live in the same state. How has this not happened? Why are we not best friends? Why not make this parasocial relationship a relationship is all I'm saying. Next are Taylor Jenkins Reid's, probably my ultimate favorite author. Malibu Rising is my everything. No, I have not read Atmosphere yet. I know. What alternate universe am I living in? To my knowledge, I have not been abducted and replaced with an identical but slightly different Sara, but that's what the aliens would want you to think, right? I'm trying to get through my TBR at the moment before I buy any more books, because I may have bought some books recently and there may or may not be room on my TBR carts for them. Hypothetically. Changed the settings up a bit, okay? Going down is more contemporary fiction. A lot of these books are hard to define as a single genre, so I've just generalized them as fiction and stuck them here. For instance, Sign Here is a horror thriller contemporary fiction book. Cackle is a contemporary fiction with horror elements. The Midnight Library is magical realism. I could see why one would shelve that book with their fantasy, but I personally think that the meaningful philosophical messaging shines more than the fantasy. So my brain situates it here. The contemporary fiction transitions into the historical fiction, which is honestly a genre I could do a better job of reading more of. My mom is a huge historical fiction reader, so it's not like I can't easily acquire more if I wanted. I don't know. A few of these I have really enjoyed, but some of them, not to name names or anything, were so painful to read. This next row on the left is my literary fiction. Now, what differentiates literary and contemporary fiction? I often consider literary fiction to have a more complex, introspective narrative on the human experience. Maybe the plot's a bit slower, the prose might be a bit more complex, with less emphasis on a traditional plot structure. Now, I'm not opposed to a cover buy, especially if it gets you to pick up novels that you wouldn't normally. So I may have bought most of these. I was gonna say a lot of these, most of these, because of the cover. No regrets. For the most part. Heartburn, I Hate to Speak Ill of the Deceased, terrible book, iconic cover. Pizza Girl is right up there with Ghost for me. I love the retro vibe it has going. This section on the right has my cozy mysteries, and not lighthearted thrillers, but thrillers that give off that cozy mystery vibe. For instance, How to Kill Men and Get Away with It, Killers of a Certain Age. Both are thrillers, but I would say have more of a comedic tone. I've got the Thursday Murder Clubs I've read so far, the Finley Donovan series, and then a few Agatha Christie's on the end. This bottom row has my nonfiction and classics, starting with nonfiction on the right. Most of these are memoirs, as that's what I generally gravitate towards when it comes to nonfiction. In this little tray, I've got some bookmarks and annotating supplies for when I never annotate. Moving to the left, we have my Greek literature. I've got the Iliad and the Odyssey by Homer, Metamorphoses by Ovid, Jason and the Argonauts, and 10 Plays by Euripides. Favorite Greek figure, deity or not, go. I am scared to say this. Medea. Yes, what she did was beyond horrific, and if I repeated, would probably get this video demonetized, but we also can't deny how she was the victim of this very patriarchal society and is the embodiment of a mortal woman showcasing any sort of power or agency through her actions serving as political commentary, where she's rejecting the role she's been cast and the norms of Greek society, misogynistic Greek society. She is also just fascinating through a contextual standpoint, and is one of the oldest examples of female rage through a morally gray lens. Love. This is my mini book nook I made and did a whole video on a while back. The idea was that I would keep my 5-star reads in this little shelf. I've yet to update it, so that's going great. And then on the left, I have a few of my favorite classics, 1984, The Outsiders, and The Great Gatsby. Now, most of my romances are on their own shelf, which we'll get to, but I do have a few series suspended on these floating shelves from Amazon, if you're wondering. I've got the Twisted, Brutal Birthrights, Dreamland Billionaires, Off Campus, and Addicted series. If the asymmetry is bothering you, you're not the only one. But here's the thing. I have to earn the symmetry. The discomfort brought on by the imbalance is supposed to motivate me to finish the series. Can't say it's worked too well. On that note, if this looks different in the thumbnail, no, it doesn't. My next shelf also doubles as a TV stand. It is from World Market. However, I don't think they make it anymore. I will have to check on that. The decorations up top I'll change up seasonally, but right now I just have my go-to setup with a few candlesticks, a table lamp, and my switches behind it. Now onto the actual books. This is where I keep my thrillers and horrors, or as I like to say, my It's safe to say that this is the genre I read most from. At one point, as in a week ago, this was stuffed, so I had to rehome my YA thrillers to another bookcase. You'll see in a bit. Now I have a bit more shelf space, provided that the book is a paperback. Hardcovers I'm gonna have to start stacking this way with the cover facing out. Yeah, it's not ideal, but my bookcases are ever evolving, if you can't already tell. This first shelf is actually a bit shorter than the one below, so I have paperbacks up top and hardcovers on the bottom. Starting in the back, Caroline Kepnes, J.P. Delaney, Liv Constantine, then Robin Harding, Sherry Lapina. Can we just take a moment? Jillian, whatever her name is, Flynn, Lucinda Berry, Frida McFadden, Lisa Jewell, Sally Hepworth, and then other miscellaneous paperback thrillers until the few shorter hardcovers that could fit up here. Move down to the hardcovers. I feel bad for the books that have to be shoved in the corner. But once again, I've got J.P. Delaney, Jennifer Hillier, Ashley Winstead, Sherry Lapina, Lisa Jewell, Alice Feeney, Taylor Adams, Riley Sager, Ruth Ware, Lisa Ugner, Stacey Willingham, Rachel Hawkins, Sarah Pekanen and Greer Hendricks, and then other random hardcover thrillers with a few more stacked up there. This is what one must come to. This is actually probably my only paperback down here. The Last House on Needless Street is abnormally tall for paperback. This is my office / extra bedroom, which I also made a video about setting up. Maybe you can watch after this video. Or not, but why not? I'll link it in the card, you can decide. In this room, I have a few of the skinny Billy bookcases from IKEA forming a corner bookcase. One would probably come to the conclusion that I keep my fantasy books on the shelf, given that there's a fantasy sign after all. Yes and no. This bookcase on the right is where my YA, thriller, horror, and mysteries now reside. So let's start there. On this top shelf, I've got the Truly Devious series. Love this series so much. The Inheritance Game trilogy, which is not really a trilogy anymore, and I have not finished. What happened to people talking about the series just a few years ago? This was all the rage. This next shelf has the Good Girls Guide to Murder series, along with Five Survive, my other Holly Jackson, and then my Karen McManus. I was a bit obsessed with her in high school. One of Us is Lying was my thriller awakening. I will forever be thankful for that book. Besides those is a Little Moon salt lamp that you can't actually turn on as it is not plugged into anything. She's just here for the aesthetic. The next two shelves have more miscellaneous YA thriller and horror. Literally have got three favorites right by each other. Actually, this whole shelf is pretty great, except maybe this is where it ends. Yeah. Didn't love that. Again, more miscellaneous YA thrillers, along with another plant and another rabbit figurine. This one was actually my late grandmother's, and I thought it looked cute on the shelf. It's always nice when your decor can be meaningful as well. This shelf doesn't have any books on it in a traditional sense. This was a piece I did for an exhibition last semester, and I could really dive into the specifics, but for the sake of brevity, basically I wanted to create an artistic allegory that portrays the various interconnected systems of one's identity that influence what a person takes away from reading a book. Sadly, a novel had to be harmed in the making of this. But sometimes sacrifices must be made in the sake of art. I had to get a drill and everything. Who knew disfiguring a book could be so fun? The bottom shelf just has some textbooks that are relevant to my major and minor, which actually does not seem like a lot. Probably because nowadays I almost always get the ebook, so I can just quickly Command F and look up or reference information. These other two shelves are mostly fantasy and sci-fi. Let's go left to right this time. Fourth Wing and Iron Flame are on their own shelf, like they should. I also like that they're metallic and how the light just reflects off them. They're really pretty. This shelf is mostly decorative with just a plant, courtesy of Target. Next, I have the Raven Boy series, which, fun fact, was actually the first fantasy series I ever read. Probably would not recommend it as a starter fantasy. Like, I enjoyed it, but so many things went over my head. And then when I would watch reviews, people would be like, oh my god, I saw this coming from a mile away, and I'd be like, huh? What? How? Sara at the time, Sara pre-booktube, just did not know how to read and comprehend fantasy. Some of the best found family though. Next to those, I have my edition of The Hobbit, which is this stunning illustrated edition. There's not really a good reason for why this book's here specifically, besides that it just fit here. Moving to the right, we've got some other fantasy series I have read or am currently reading. The Perilous series I just filmed a reading vlog for. I've also got Six of Crows, Vengeance of the Pirate Queen, Dance of Thieves, and the Regency Fairy Tale series. This is where I keep my past reading journals, so 2022s through 2024s. My current reading journal lives the nomadic lifestyle and hides around my apartment. I love looking through these and seeing how my journaling has evolved over the years. On the right is my Assistant to the Villain shelf, featuring Kingsley himself chilling on his throne. I've got Assistant to the Villain, Apprentice to the Villain. This Fantasy Lane sign is from Etsy, by the way. I'll link it down below, but these are pretty plentiful on Etsy, and they're generally pretty customizable, so you can really have it say whatever you want, how it look however you want. Alright, this is my sci-fi / dystopian section. As you can see, I am not a big sci-fi reader. In my defense, I do have some on loan. And by some, I mean one, which is actually a book I would like to get back, but it's looking unlikely. I loaned Project Hail Mary to my brother over a year ago. Apparently he lives with the mindset that what is mine is his. This is not without trying. I've tried to get it back. It's been over a year, okay? And then I have a few decorative pieces on the right. Now, this pot, I love. My sister-in-law actually gave this to me. Yes, the one that married my kleptomaniac brother. Like, how did he do it? I don't know. It has different Jane Austen novels on it, which is very cool. I just have a fake plant in it because, let's be real, I'd kill a real one. Eventually, I want to display the Once Upon a Broken Heart series here. So far, I've only read the first. Mine is the UK version. Thank you again to the commenter who recommended I check out Blackwell's. Great place to get UK editions of books for those outside of the UK. I do own the rest of the series on my physical TBR, which I expect to devour, just like I did that one. Now, some would probably call this shelf sad. I'm calling it minimalistic. I intended to have this shelf store my Switch games. Slight problem. My Switch game collection is a grand total of 1. It's Stardew Valley, in case you're wondering. I'm not just gonna have and buy random games to just have sitting around for months until I eventually get to them. Couldn't be me. She's a work in progress, but Honestly, relatable. Next is some more random miscellaneous fantasy, a lot of which are first installments in a series I have never finished, and that is probably for a good reason. But then I also have this stunning edition of The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue here. Why are the best special edition books always fantasy? Probably because a special edition thriller would just be abstract depictions of blood, and yeah, maybe not everyone wants that. What is happening? Do you see that? My bookmark got stuck under this book, and now it's becoming frayed. How sad. We're just gonna hide that and pretend that that didn't happen. And then I also have my one manga I've read here. Should I do a manga reading vlog where I don't know, read manga for a week? I feel like no one would watch that. I would find that fun. Just think about how much manga I could read in a week. Man, that would be good for my Goodreads goal. These bottom two shelves aren't really that interesting. On the left, I do have some other various books I read for school, but this is where I've been keeping my yarn. Not the best organization. Over there is my non-super chunky Chanel yarn, and then in this basket is my acrylic yarn. Welcome to my reading corner, one of my favorite places to read, and where my final bookshelf is, displaying my romance collection. The bookshelf is from World Market, the chair is also from World Market, Peter not included. Starting up top, we've got my YA romances, including the Heartstopper series, both Ginny Han series, The Summer I Turned Pretty, and To All the Boys I've Loved Before. If I had to pick between the two, I am a bit biased towards To All the Boys I've Loved Before. This is one of the few instances in which I watched the movie before reading the book. Now, which one is better? See, it pains me. It pains me to answer that. I really enjoyed both of them. I've got a couple Lynn Painters and a few other romances. I'll usually switch up the book on display seasonally, but The Summer Broken Rules is one of my favorites in rotation. This shelf underneath has authors whose works I own multiple from. So I've got Rachel Lynn Solomon, Sarah Adams, Sarah Hogle, Tessa Bailey, Christina Lauren, Abby Jimenez, The Wildflowers duet and novella, my Emily Henrys, Allie Hazelwoods, and then Colleen Hoover's from when I went through the universal Colleen Hoover phase. I do need to eventually get a bookend for over here, as these novels are prone to falling over, especially in the middle of the night. It's no wonder I'm chronically sleep deprived. This next shelf starts off with miscellaneous romances and then transitions into my Halloween and Christmas-esque novels. You could say this is my holiday section. Also, this bust is empty. I really just have this for aesthetic purposes. And then finally, on this bottom row, I have the books in the Calloway Sisters series I've read thus far, back when you could still get the old covers. I am so sad that you can't. Not because I like them per se, but I just want my books to match. You see, I thought about purchasing the other editions back before the cover change, but I resisted, and I regret it every day. So if anyone wants to donate their editions to my library. And then in this basket, I have some bookmarks. Whenever I get a book of the month bookmark, it goes in here to never be used. To the left of my bookshelf, I have my physical TBR in those two carts with all of my unread novels, which I'm not going to go into as that is a video for another day. I love having my books all around me in my apartment, so I can always feel an ounce of that joy that I get while reading. Let me know what your current bookshelf situation's looking like. I'm nosy. I'd love to hear about your setup. I hope you guys enjoyed this updated bookshelf tour. If you did, make sure to give it a thumbs up. It really does help me my channel out a lot. You can also comment, interact, subscribe, all that fun YouTube stuff. I'd really appreciate it. I hope you all are having a fantastic day, a fantastic week, and I will see you in my next one. Bye.